Shake a sugar shaker, what a thrill. Jeepers, I'm a sugar pill. Shake a sugar shaker, you can too. Sugar pills will work for you. Shake a sugar shaker, what a thrill. Jeepers, I'm a sugar pill. Shake a sugar shaker, you can too. Sugar pills will work for you. Hello everyone, I'm Barbara Baxter and welcome to the Sugar Pills Show. We're all about non-medical ways to feel your best, whether you're ill, well, or somewhere in between. And today I am so excited because the guest is a musical guest, a musician, a composer, and a performer. His name is Jon Aiken. He was born in Toledo, Ohio, and then moved to Indiana, and then moved to Michigan, and then back to Ohio in the Cincinnati area. And all this happened, I think, within just a few years. In his school days, he played sports. He played football, baseball, and was a District 100 freestyle swimmer. A little after that, he was working for Ford Motor Company. He was on a farm. He was in a restaurant. He sold high-end audio equipment to learn digital audio workstation. And then as a full-time musician, he started doing weddings, playing clubs, private and corporate parties. And he is terrific, let me tell you. He also owns his own recording studio where he books voiceovers and music for videos. If we're lucky, he'll play for us on his sax, his harmonica, and his flute. And by the way, in 5th grade, he refused to sing for the music teacher. I think we better find out why. He also, on a whim, bought his first sax at a pawn shop. We'll need to hear more about that. A very important thing about Jon is that he feels his musical journey has led him to know that music is a conduit to our spirit. Please welcome Jon Aiken. Jon, welcome to the Sugar Pill Show.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
I'm very excited to hear what you have to say about your musical journey because having you here is really a privilege and an honor. Now, let's talk about all this moving around you did. You were born in Toledo, and from there it was...
Till the age of 5, and then we moved to Indianapolis for a couple years. After that, we moved to Michigan, to Lansing, Michigan. And these were all, my father had been transferred in the insurance business. And in '66, the end of '66, just as I turned 10, we moved to Cincinnati, Ohio.
Well, that was a lot of moving around for 10 short years.
Yes.
And during that time, you were interested and you were playing sports. Now, how does that work when you're moving to different schools? Is that a good way to get to know people, or?
I think so. I think sports was really a prime focus at that time in my formative years. What I do know, something I'd mentioned to you pre-show, is that my grandfather had given me a trumpet, and I was in band in 5th grade. I forgot it twice and was kicked out in 6th grade.
You were
and
kicked
then
out of the band.
So I always loved music, so I always loved this, but it didn't really, as they say, take. It didn't take, and I still have that trumpet. It's a 1905 Con that was my grandfather's, and it's still in my closet. Anyway, sports was formative for me because all my friends, that's what they loved, and that's you had to be part of the group. So I did my best. I was okay. I wasn't anything special in sports, but
and you. Because we did talk earlier, you worked very hard at whatever sport you were pursuing at the time. I mean, you were saying something about how even though it was dark out, you'd go out and practice. Practice. Well, that must have been. I mean, I
was into it. I was really into it because I remember watching. I was a fan of the Oakland Raiders, of all things, even though I lived here, and it was early on in the Bengals' history, but. I just remember watching Sunday afternoon football. It gets dark early. I would go out and kick field goals over my neighbor's fence and just keep at it and keep working at it, just hanging out by myself. I wanted to be connected. I wanted to be good at something.
Okay.
Yeah, and
okay.
I think that's where that started.
And were you good at football?
I was okay.
And
I was okay.
But you also played baseball.
Yes. I was a little bit better baseball player. And I still have the mitt that I think is older than me. That I had way back when. It seemed huge when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, but now it looks like an infielder's mitt. No, I worked hard at it. I tried to be good, and I don't know that it was really my calling.
Well, when you were playing baseball, what position did
I was
you?
a left fielder.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were out in left field, so to speak.
And it's come true full circle today.
And then, now, we're talking high school now, I believe, when you really got into swimming.
Yeah.
How'd you get into swimming?
That happened in an odd way because my older sister's a couple years older than me, dated a guy who swam. And I don't know how it happened, but somehow I got talked into joining the swim team. And I was a co-captain with a good friend of mine in 9th grade, and then continued through high school. Played water polo, played a little AAU water polo and a little bit of college that I attended. But
and where was that? Where did you attend?
I was at UC for about a minute. Literally.
About a minute.
Yeah,
That's the University of Cincinnati. That's
and
what we're talking about.
Yeah, attended a few classes and went, this is not, what I want to do.
What was the major?
Oh, I had no idea because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was still trying to figure out who I was. And
I'm still trying to figure out who I am. So
I'm a work in progress, I guess.
I like that, a work in progress.
And I just tried to see where I fit, in my early 20s.
Well, one thing you said when you were talking about when you were practicing football, that you were out there by yourself practicing it. And I think there is the quality of being able to do things alone and thriving on things alone that a lot of artists find is really a part of their personality, whether it's music or other artistic pursuits.
It's like going to the mountain. It's like, it's almost a form of meditation, if you will. It's learning who you are through that. It's learning patience. A lot of things that I really didn't have a strong suit in. Patience.
And you felt that the discipline of sports, I mean, there's a lot of discipline to sports. So has that benefited you?
Oh, absolutely. I think repetitive motion, cell memory, when you practice scales and do things like that, it's the same, it's literally the same mind set as when you kick field goals over and over, or pass, or pitch baseball, whatever it may be. It's just trying to focus and zero in and feel like you have a handle on it.
So this cell memory, that's an intriguing thought. I hadn't thought about cell memory for a while to get my cells clicked in. The cell memory of music, how does cell memory benefit us in music?
I think there's a lot of studies out there that say that you can avoid later mental issues through music. I know I've heard that and read that a number of times. There's a connection. When I'm playing the horn, when I'm playing either the flute or the sax, I'm thinking in terms of shapes, of what it. I know what E feels, the key of E. I know what that feels like. I know what F feels like. I know what B feels like, and it's not as good. But so you have all these things. You learn to get that under your fingers, and you keep working at it until you're not even thinking about it, until it's like a mindless exercise.
And as other artists who work in mediums, like I enjoy pastels, and it's all with fingers. Okay, So what you're talking about when you start describing things, you're very tactile. You
Exactly.
are right there.
Yeah.
Your sax isn't
Yeah.
in your hands, but
Yeah.
you're holding it.
Yeah, because you can't. I guess the downside is, if there's any with the horn, is that you can't see what you're doing unless you're looking in a mirror. But you can feel it, and a lot of times I notice that I close my eyes when I play, and I'm really into it. My eyes are closed because I'm just in it. I'm in that moment. I'm in the feel of it. So it's almost as if vision or sight is a distraction.
Wow. And let's talk about that sax. Now, tell us how you got your first sax. How did that happen?
I had previous to playing saxophone, I was a little older, well, a bit older. I was 23 when I first bought a saxophone. Previous to that, I had a flute that I bought when I was 18, and it was a rent-to-own. I'm too cheap to give it back, so I kept it. This is in the age of Jethro Tull, that time, mid-70s. So I loved that, and I loved learning. Previous to that, I played harmonica. Us kids were 15, 16 years old. I was a lifeguard for a couple years, and
You played the harmonica while you were lifeguarding?
there was never anyone at the pool, or at least where I was. It was a Holiday Inn.
Was there
Way
water
back.
in the pool?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And but it was a way to kill time on cooler days, whatever. But through those things, I thought, well, if I'm going to, for some reason, I must have had an idea or an inkling that I was going to make a living or do something with this. There must have been some gentle nudge. And I decided, well, I need to play something more viable besides flute and harmonica. So I thought, well, saxophone seems like the thing to do. And I had come upon a group called the Crusaders, and they had a wonderful sax player, Wilton Felder, who it changed my life. It just changed, the spirit of their music changed, because I wasn't into the real traditional jazz thing. This is more funky and upbeat, but with the jazz language. And this is in the late 70s, and it changed my course. It literally put me on a different fork in the road.
And you currently also listen to the Crusaders?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you never lost your...
Well, one of the guys, Joe Sample, was my hero. He was the piano player, keyboard player. He just passed away a few months ago at the age of 75, and I saw them in 1980, years ago, and what a humble man to see him on stage, and what a wonderful, spirited player.
But this saxophone,
well,
how did you get that saxophone?
Well, I got the saxophone. I went with a girlfriend at the time, went to Will's Pawn Shop, and I see this alto sax in the case, and they want $350. And I'm a young kid. I don't know much about the haggling part of things, but I saw that and I go, well, I'm not going to give him $350 for that. I'm going to talk him down. So I got him. I think I said $250. He goes $260. I go, sold, and that was it. I couldn't get home fast enough.
But so you were saying, I think I'll get a sax, and you just happened
it.
by Will's Pawn Shop, and
well, I planned to do that. I said, if I'm going to do this, I don't want to just go out and buy a new one. I want to buy something that I can afford, that if this doesn't work out, I didn't spend too much money.
Okay, understandable. Now, some people may remember, if they were ever in the greater Cincinnati area, that Will's Pawn Shop was one of the things that was advertised at all the drive-in theaters. They would have like the first feature, and then there'd be this advertisement for Will's Pawn Shop. I may have seen your sax, who knows? So you got the sax. Did you take lessons? Did you just start to try and learn on your own?
I had already played flute for a little while, so I was self-taught on that, and I used to practice to a lot of Loggins and Messina, Tim Weisberg, things that were popular at that time. And what I did is I just brought it home and I thought, well, I'm going to try and emulate to the best of my ability what I think, like the Crusaders or whatever it might be. If it was a simpler melody, I just tried my best just to emulate that sound, to get as close as I could.
And you've done a very good job.
It's gotten better.
So, okay, let's talk about how it got better.
Okay.
And I had mentioned earlier that you were on a farm, you were in the restaurant business, you worked at Ford Motor, and meanwhile you're learning to play instruments. And when do you decide, I think I'm going to do this professionally? That had to be an enormous leap because, if you try to be self-supporting in something, how did you make that decision?
I don't know that I ever really had a big 5-year plan or a plan. What I do know is that it just kept getting closer and closer. It was like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, in a way. You're going, I can do this, I think. At first it was I think I can, and I think it turned into, I know I can do this.
Well, you're the little engine that could.
That's what bad metaphor for me, but yeah, I mean, that's probably right. What it was developing a confidence,
Okay.
and I think that's really what happened. And I moved to in the late '80s. I moved to San Francisco. I talked an ex-girlfriend into moving to California. She was scared to death. I'm going, oh, in talking her into it, I talked myself into it. So I ended up moving to California. And when I got there, I heard some of the people I heard play, and I'm going, oh my God, what have I gotten into?
Wow.
Because there was some really incredible musicianship.
And you're mentioning a lot of ex-girlfriends. Maybe we have to do another whole show about the ex-girlfriends.
No, that wasn't. No, it was. You know what?
Oh, no, right.
He's in denial.
Okay, so you went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I do know that you became successful in selling your CDs in Japan, and that you were written about by a journalist in France, and
yeah.
you were on. Nationally, you were on many radio stations in the United States.
I've got a tidbit. When I moved to San Francisco, I had 2 other girl roommates in this place.
Oh, there we go.
It was Three's Company to a degree. And I used to go to these jam sessions. And one of them was at a place called Bouncers. And where Bouncers is now is where the Giants... the San Francisco Giants ballpark is. So they tore that whole area up to make that stadium, that baseball park. And that's where it was literally, in that part, it was the northeast part of the peninsula, San Francisco, of the city. And I met a guy there who turned out to be a roommate. What happened was, I go to this jam session, and I meet this guy, my buddy Jimmy, guitar player from New York City, and he was a real, he's a pistol.
Wow. Okay, there are 2 things I really want to do on the program today. We all want to hear you play, and very importantly, we would like to hear what you have to say about how music can affect people's lives, because music has really led you, it seems, from what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. It's wonderful to hear, and I'm sure a lot of people who are considering music are going to be inspired by hearing what you have to say. How about if you give us some little snippets on your 3 instruments?
Let me get a little.
Yeah, you have a sip of
chug
water.
here.
So, how exciting for us! Jon is going to play all 3 instruments, and I'm excited to hear.
But not
this.
at the same time.
Oh darn!
Let's see. Let me just complete what I was real quick about
certainly. Sorry.
When I met my buddy Jimmy. He made it possible. I ended up becoming a roommate. They had a recording studio in his house, so it was like all these things kind of fell into place. He'd loaned me $600. I spent $600, paid him back later, bought my first keyboard, and the rest kind of is history. in terms of composition and learning how to write songs. And anyway, I will dazzle you, or not.
I love to be dazzled.
With there's a couple things. I learned that I had to woodshed, or as they practice quite a bit in when I was out there, because there were some players of a caliber I'm not even close. And so I dug deep, and that's what it took. Here's a little Grover Washington.
I'm dazzled. And you have a flute and you have a harmonica. Yeah. Can we hear something from those?
Sure. I'm going to do one more quick sax thing here. I promised my wife I'd do this. Something called Harlem Nocturne.
Oh, that's so nice, and it's so lovely of you to do that for your wife. And now we're going to hear.
This is like the year 40 that I've played this thing, and I can't. And time does slip by somehow. This is a lot of times I'll go into a club and I'm thinking I'm going to go in and play this. This will get them. Or I'm thinking I'm going to play. Or I'm thinking I'm going to play that, and people are going, "Could you play some Tull?" And which was really the first stuff I started messing with. And that's what they want to hear. So you get kind of painted into a corner.
And the harmonica now.
The harmonica is what I started with, and like I said a long while ago, I played a certain way for a while. When I got to San Francisco, there was a guy at one of these jam sessions who sounded like John Coltrane on the harmonica, and I'm going, it was like a whole thing. I'm going, uh-oh, I need to practice. And he was the sweetest guy. He wanted to be a folk guitar player, but he played harmonica like nobody's business. And he showed me some things, which basically the straight blues is what we were into way back. But he was showing me things like so he's showing me these different things that I'm going, man, I didn't do that for a long time, and thank you for the free lesson.
Wow. I think one of the things that all of us seeing this and hearing this are recognizing is that with your three different instruments, you represent three different styles, and it's all you, it's all coming out, and now I want to get to that all-important question.
Uh-oh.
When my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and when I would go to see her, she wouldn't know who I was. But if I began to sing songs that she sang to me when I was a little girl, or that she used to play on the piano, if I would hum them, the expression on her face would completely change. She would sing along. She would be moving in time to the music. It really transcended an otherwise very difficult situation of me trying to get through, because I wanted the recognition. You know. Now, you have been with a lot of people who have been listening to your music, and I would like to know, how do you think it affects people, and is there something you'd like to say to the people watching about using music for elevating our spirits?
The one thing that struck me, and it's happened it's happened more than a few times. I thought what it was that I was doing through playing these instruments was was just playing music. I just thought that it was something that felt good to me. But what I have later come to realize, one guy even used the word, he goes, you're a bit of a shaman. Not just me, but people who do what you do. What it is, what your task is to make people feel their spirit in a different way, and to feel it on a deeper level. I've had people come up and they don't know how to really put it besides saying, you really changed my day. So there was no real word or description besides that they felt compelled to come up to me and tell me that, and that was like the greatest compliment to me.
Jon, of course it is. And listen, I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You very nicely contributed to the Sugar Pills Non-Medical Ways to Feel Your Best. May I give this to you as a gift for being on the show?
Thank you very much.
And I want to say that it's been such a pleasure, such an honor, such a privilege. And in addition to all your musical abilities and your shaman abilities, you have a great sense of humor and probably a lot more stories.
More than likely.
I want to thank everyone for listening. We've had a wonderful, wonderful experience, haven't we, with Jon Aiken? And Jon is a wonderful person. He's an old soul. I think we can say he's an old soul, and you know what I mean when I say that. So let's all look forward to putting more music in our lives to help us feel our best and to help others feel their best. If you have a friend in need, take them some music. Take them a CD. Share one that you already have. And there are other ways to include music in your life that are very inexpensive. You can turn on a radio. You can turn on your television and hear music. And play the music that you like, because it will lift you up. And who knows, there may be those of you out there who will take up the saxophone, the flute, and the harmonica and put together your own program. Thank you so much for being with me on the Sugar Pills Show. I love you all. We all love music. Thank you.
Shake a sugar shaker, what a thrill. Jeepers, I'm a sugar pill. Shake a sugar shaker, you can too. Sugar pills will